Okay, guys, the Royal Rumble is officially in the books, done and dusted, and I have issues with this pay-per-view as well as some positive points. So let's start off with the positive points. I never really thought that I wanted so many feuds in my face right now. I never thought that I wanted Brock Lesnar versus Gunther. Like, I really want Brock Lesnar versus Gunther. That is going to probably be one of the most amazing matches I've ever seen. And that's kind of what the Royal Rumble is. It starts off possibly dream feuds, maybe actually starting storylines. That's kind of what the whole purpose, at least in my opinion, of what the Royal Rumble is. But when it came to starting it off, I never expected it to do the men's first, because the men's would always close it off. Always close it off. But the fact that they started off first, I think was a good move, because you had Gunther coming out as number one, and he lasted all the way to the end. He was probably one of the first IC champions that actually started at number one and pretty much was part of the final two. You don't really see that every day. But then have him come out with Sheamus, and Sheamus is number two, pretty much kind of rekindling the feud that they had prior, was amazing. I mean, I'm sorry. I loved the standoff they had so long ago, and they were just gonna go at it, and they just went straight to it. I'm happy they just didn't stand there for like 5 minutes and then just, waited even longer. I'm happy they just went to it. And it started off pretty well. I mean, especially how hard-hitting it was. And then there was a lot of, it just started going down from there in a small way. But as for the Rumble itself, with the people coming out and everything, the one issue that I had for both of them, both men and women, there were no surprise entrants except for two that you didn't care about. For the men's, it was Booker T and Logan freaking Paul. Who cares about Logan Paul? Why are they trying to make Logan Paul a thing? Why are they making him a thing? Nobody likes him. People hate him. No one likes him. Then you got Booker T's old behind out there doing the spinneroonie. But if you think about it, Booker T's trying to make up for all the botches that he's had for any Rumble he's been in. So I guess that's the reason why he's there. But to be honest with you, there really wasn't a lot of surprise entrants that you would care about in this Rumble. It just didn't feel special. And the same thing for the women. There really wasn't much for the women to grasp straws at. Like, I don't think we even saw, one surprise entrant, kind of surprise, was Michelle McCool, and she was in the audience with her kids, and then she just went over the barricade and started fighting. I'm like, okay, sure. But the biggest things that really annoyed me the most is, number one, why couldn't Xia Li bring her bow to the ring when the Rumble is supposed to be no DQ? But Elias brought his guitar and smashed it over somebody's head before that match. Like, seriously, that made no sense. Elias brought his guitar, smashed it over someone's head, but Xia Li couldn't bring her bow to the ring? That didn't make any sense. What made even less sense was the fact that Rey Mysterio didn't even come out. We didn't even see what happened to him behind the scenes. Now, I will say this. For Royal Rumble 2002, I was actually there. And I probably got the years wrong. It might be 2001, but either or. For 2002, when Maven eliminated The Undertaker, when I was sitting there, they didn't really show us behind the scenes footage while we were in the audience, but later on, they showed footage while you watched it on pay-per-view. Everyone saw what happened to him, but at the arena, we didn't really see that. I'm assuming that may be the same thing, but then I'm like, nobody at home saw what happened to Rey. They never even mentioned what happened to Rey in commentary. He came out at he was supposed to come out at 17, but we didn't even see him, and it just went on like nothing happened. I was like, wait, can anybody explain to me what happened to Rey? Like, what happened to Rey Mysterio? How come you didn't have Dom come out at 17 instead of 18? It would have made more sense for Dominic to come out with the mask at Rey Mysterio's entrance at 17 instead of him coming out in 18. And I'm just like, you could have had somebody else be at 18. And speaking of somebody else, this is going to be somewhat of a rant and a review kind of combined into one, y'all. But anyway, when it came to the women's, it didn't make any sense for Sonya Deville to be there because Sonya Deville is getting a title match next week. She's getting a title match on SmackDown against Charlotte Flair. Why is she in the Rumble? And we knew Beth Phoenix was there because Beth Phoenix came out for the men's Rumble to beat up Rhea. When Rhea Ripley came out there, you know, to help out Judgment Day and to beat the crap out of Edge, here comes Beth Phoenix. And we knew she was there. How come she didn't take the spot that Sonya had? That made no sense whatsoever. Sonya Deville is getting her title shot. She shouldn't even be in the Rumble at all. And speaking of no sense, we got Nia Jax at number 30. Am I supposed to care? She talked so much smack on Twitter talking about she would never return, and then here she is right there at WWE, the very place that fired her. You gonna come back talking all that smack on Twitter about you not coming back and all this other stuff about, you know, people, all the higher ups and all this other stuff, talking all types of tea about them, spilling all types of tea about them. And you're gonna show up in WWE at the Rumble. Yeah, that makes plenty of sense. The same thing with Cody. Now, myself and Prince GMO and Club Atlantis, we kind of had a dispute about Cody Rhodes that practically lasted most of the pay-per-view. And I get him. I get his perspective on Cody 100%. I really do. Let's be real here. Cody is a narcissist. I'm gonna be real. He is a brilliant wrestler. He is a brilliant wrestler. He knows how to tell a story in the ring. He is really good at what he can do. But he is a narcissist. The guy had to come out with smoke and some kind of an over-the-top entrance. And then he came in at number 30 and won it. We had Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes in the ring together. They didn't even touch. What happened to Seth? He got eliminated by Logan freaking Paul. You're telling me that Logan Paul is going to be feuding with Seth Rollins when Seth Rollins should be going towards the championship right now. And I've already made this argument on one of my videos that I made about the whole match between Cody and Seth being overrated. I've already talked about who it should have been. I ain't going into that detail anymore. Y'all can go back and watch that video. But to be honest with you, they didn't even rehash anything. They didn't even start nothing. It was just over before it started. And then you had Cody win when Cody didn't even need to win. Cody didn't earn that spot. Let's be real. The only reason why that Cody has so much hype was because of the fact that he left AEW. If that wasn't the case, then nobody would care. That's just me personally. But to be honest with you, I would have been fine. I would have been 100% fine. I would have been through the roof, over the moon if Gunther won. Because Gunther has actually made the IC belt worth something again. And you know how much history that man would have made if he won? It shouldn't have been Cody. And let's be honest, with Cody Rhodes, now that he's actually won the Rumble, he's going after Roman. Because you have no choice. He's got both belts. He's going after Roman. We know he's going to win now. There's no surprise. And that's what bugged me about the men's. You didn't feel like everybody had an opportunity to win. But when Cody showed up, you knew he was. Because Cody has to win. He always has to win. Now, I know a lot of people are going to debate, oh, well, he lost a lot of AEW. But he booked himself into a corner where he didn't allow himself to go after the title again. When he wanted to actually keep that up. I admire him for that. But now it's to the point where he has to win everything. And that bugs the crap out of me. I'm sorry, it does. Cody is an amazing performer. He's an amazing athlete. He's an amazing wrestler that knows how to tell a good story in the ring. But the dude's a freaking narcissist. I'm sorry, he is. I'm just going to say that. Straight up. And I was not happy that he won. I wasn't. Because he didn't need it. He needed to earn that spot. And he has not. Not in my eyes. And that really disappointed me about the men's rumble. It started off great. But then in the middle, it just started to go down a bit. And then the finish didn't go out very well. Was the match itself horrible? No. I'm not going to say it was horrible at all. But if I had to give it a letter rating, I had to give it a B-. But anyway, I'm going to talk about the women's now. Good Lord, my expectations were low when it came to the women because the women did not have enough on the roster to make it just them. They had to invite people from NXT. And to be honest with you, the folks that I saw that came up from NXT, I care very little about because their characters are so freaking boring. I just don't care. Like, let's be honest. I've already talked about, my New Year's resolutions and what I thought about some of the NXT women's division. And honestly, that's kind of how I still feel about it. So when you had NXT women that came up, I didn't care. When you had people in the main roster that came out, I didn't care. The one thing that made me happy was that Liv did not win because they pretty much booked Liv badly to where she has to revamp herself again. They tried to make her into an underdog, but what they did with Ronda Rousey messed her up. I'm happy she did not win. I really am. Am I disappointed about Asuka not winning? In a small way, a little. But the right woman won because Rhea is so freaking over. She's over. It made sense for Rhea to win. I love the fact that Asuka was channeling her inner Kana. She was channeling her old. She came out in the Oni mask, and she was channeling her inner Kana. And honestly, I loved it. I really do hope she goes back to that. I love her new ring attire. I love the fact that she changed her character. I hope she's a little bit more devious, a little bit more heelish than she used to be, because I want that out of her. I really do. I want her to be feared again. I really do. But for the Women's Rumble, the right woman won. The right woman won. And thank God Natalya wasn't like part of the Final Four. That was ridiculous last year that she was in there for that long. I'm like, honey, you should have been eliminated a long time ago. But the fact that she got eliminated that quick, I was fine to see that. But the fact that Rhea won, the right woman won. I'm not going to lie. The right woman won. If I had to give this a letter rating, the lack of surprises was kind of sad, but the women kind of gave it their all. I gotta give it a C. For the women's match, I have to give it a C. And the sad part is, it was no hype. And what made it even worse was the fact that Damage Control, they're already damaged. You're supposed to come out to be dominant, and they looked damaged. And not only that, Becky got eliminated just as quick. And I'm like, seriously? Really? You got the man and Damage Control eliminated that fast and in that way? Yeah, I mean, I gotta give it a C. It's sad enough that the women don't really have much to do. Like, they don't really have much of a storyline. They don't have really much of a build. They barely build. They barely built up the women's Royal Rumble, which is sad. But overall, I gotta give it a C. Or at least a C+. I will give it a C+. I'll give it that. I'll give it a C+. Oh boy, the Pitch Black match. Can we just call it Neon Funk? Like, seriously, or Naomi's Neon Wonderland, something, because it was not pitch black. It was day glow. It was seriously day glow. Everything was day glowing. And LA Knight having a mic on his crotch with day glow pants on, day glow trunks was just weird. And then I will say this, Bray Wyatt's design that he had on his face, that day glow paint, looked pretty good. That whole neon paint that he had looked really good, looked really evil. Kind of fits his character. I would have been fine if they called it a lights out match, but instead it was pitch black because of Mountain Dew. It was advertisement. I never had that soda, but the fact it don't really look black and looks more purple, I don't think it looks appetizing. But either or, it was pitch black because of Mountain Dew. But it was pretty much day glow like throughout the whole match. That match itself was really quick. It really was anticlimactic, and I didn't care that much about it. But they did what they had to do, so I would definitely give them a C-. Maybe that sounds a little bit too forgiving, but I'm gonna definitely give this match a C- straight up. Oh boy. We've already talked about the Women's Rumble. Let's talk about the championship matches. Well, we talked about the Rumble matches. Let's talk about the championship matches. I'm gonna start off with the women's match. I did not care at all about this because I'm gonna be honest, Alexa Bliss, I love you. I think you're great on the mic, but honey, you have been proven to be average day in, day out. You've already been proven to be average by Charlotte Flair, but I will say this, she stepped it up for Bianca Belair because Bianca Belair can kind of sort of be on, she's a little bit above Alexa Bliss, but she's not superior to her. And I think they did a good job with pairing them up. I felt the match ended very quickly, and even though they had the whole supernatural ending with Uncle Howdy and everything, I still don't think it was a horrible match. It was kind of average, so I have to give it a C+. The main event was Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. This was probably one of the most predictable matches I've seen on a main pay-per-view, on a Big Four pay-per-view, that is, in a while. Was it bad? Oh no, not by no means. It was the finish that bugged me a lot. Now, I know a lot of people are like, it was the best storytelling I've ever seen. Was it though? Just like how people are saying that Kofi Mania was one of the best, and it wasn't. At least not to me. When it came to the whole thing with Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn has proven himself time and time again. The whole trial of Sami Zayn made no sense because months prior he has been proving himself that he is beyond Kevin Owens and he's part of the family. Then that trial happened and then they had to rewrite it all again. And of course Sami had to be there to kind of turn things up a little bit. My thing is, and maybe you guys can correct me in the comments, was there any notion that Kevin Owens still cared about Sami? Besides the fact that he's saying that they're not his family. I really didn't see any indication because there's always been a love-hate relationship between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. It hasn't been like they're best friends in real life, of course, but taking that out of it and putting their characters into it, it has been a major love-hate relationship between both of them. So what in the world would make Sami want to turn his back on the bloodline? People who could annihilate him in a second. What would Kevin Owens have done to make him change his mind? Did he save his life in a match? No. At least what I haven't seen. Maybe it's something I missed. But it just seemed like the story was all over the place. And people keep saying it's like one of the best stories ever. I'm like, I have to disagree. Is it interesting? Yeah, it's very interesting. Is it one of the best? No, it's not. By far, it is not. The ending itself made no sense to me. It didn't. The fact that Kevin Owens, and this is just me, and this is how I would have done it, for Sami Zayn has already proven to the bloodline that he is with them all the way. Taking out the trial of Sami Zayn, forget that even exists. It shows that they were done with each other from the very beginning. And even though Kevin Owens has said those comments, he has played with his head many times before, he's even admitted this. What I would have done is I would have had Sami go all the way. All the way. Eventually, he would have had to go after Roman, but he would have lost. He should have lost. But what I would have done is I would have actually had Sami Zayn be like, no, Chief, this is beneath you. Let me do it. And I'm just like, how come you wouldn't have Sami do that? Why did it have to be conflict between him and Kevin when it really didn't show me that there was any type of hesitancy on Kevin's end at all? Not from the prior night, not from SmackDown. That's not what I got. What I got is he was like really sick of Sami, and then he was like, Roman, I hope you're listening. I am going to bring 100% of me. He wasn't thinking of Sami Zayn at all. He just wasn't. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people were like heartbroken to see Sami Zayn get his butt whooped, but Sami Zayn kind of turned on his friend, and Kevin has turned on him multiple times. So in the end, I'm like, y'all blew your load way too early. You could have held out a little bit more. You could have held out for Elimination Chamber leading on up to WrestleMania. But no, y'all had to blow it here. It didn't make any sense for him to hit Roman. And then you had Jay crying. Dude, wouldn't you be pissed? Wouldn't you want to beat the crap out of this dude that you stood up for the trial? Wouldn't you want to be beating him down because you put your entire name on the line for this guy and he betrayed you? You wouldn't be going off crying like a little boy. You would be in there wanting to beat his tail. That made no sense to me at all. You got Jay going up in there and crying and everybody else beating up on Sami. I'm like, that made no sense, bruh. I know you would be heartbroken, but hey, look heartbroken after you beat him down. That made no sense to me at all. It just didn't. I hated that finish. Number one, it was done way too early. Just like what happened with Jay and Jimmy and Roman Reigns. They killed that really quick. And it seemed like they did that here. I know they all have these plans in Canada, and I'm just like, it don't have to be plans in Canada because they're Canadian. Yeah, come on. Just because they're Canadian, man, it doesn't mean that you have to have these plans all set up because they're all Canadian. Come on, you don't have to do that. Just make the story look good. Make the story make sense. And it just didn't. I hated that finish, but I'm not going to completely discredit the entire match because I didn't agree at all with the finish. The match itself did tell a story. It told a story from start to finish. And the story building up with Sami Zayn being the honorary Uso all the way up to that point was done pretty decent, except for the trial of Sami Zayn. It made no sense because at that point he's already proven himself that he's a part of Bloodline. Until that trial, that's when it started that's when it started to reboot itself, and I just didn't agree with that at all. But it overall, except for that part, was a pretty good story. Did it have a good finish? Was it satisfying? Not to me. But does that make the overall match bad? No, it doesn't. Will I give the match an A? No. I will definitely give it a B+. I will definitely give it a B+. But overall, for this entire Rumble, this Rumble was slightly above average. I kind of wanted a little bit more out of it, mainly because I don't think that Cody deserved to win, but like I said, narcissistic hubris maybe. But either or, if I had to give this a grade, it has to be a B+. The overall pay-per-view in itself is a B+. Is it an A? Oh, no. No. No way. I will definitely give it a B+. But I want to hear y'all's thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about the Royal Rumble in the comments below. Let me know how you feel, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out.